home altogether, if such a thing could be distinguished by way of coherence and permanence. The basement got sealed off and furnished in IKEA with a studio conversion in mind. The curtain rails were hung with bland, cheap fabric, an offence to the building's 19th century facade. Bits of the bathroom shone plastic. They might have been porcelain in another time, but the ugliness of this went unopposed. Room tenancies in the house lasted less than 10 months. The whole that persisted, the building itself, was made up of 8 contracts per academic year. Each room became a discrete abode. Like this, it should have been nothing special. But at some point, outside, on the wall where the front door was, the house had acquired a blue plaque. The plaque read, "You can put your things in one of these rooms, sure. You can take your cups and your shoes and your toothbrush out of cardboard boxes and arrange them all until it smells like what you are used to. Old coffee, fabric softener, diptyque candle, feu de bois. You can cut your nails, roll up your stockings, have sex, refill your fountain pen, count out spare change, eat figs, swat flies, stain the carpet, have an existential crisis, then shelve it for another day. Shave, apply mascara." Now that it is the 21st century, you can send a tweet, read a reprint of Hegel, eat Chinese takeaway made by English caterers on minimum wage. You can update your Instagram story, spread almond butter on rye bread toast, stare at your MacBook, and generally exist in here to the tune of a £550 deposit and a sum of £187 in weekly rent. But always, Walter Pater, 1839 to 1894, author and scholar. Clara Pater, 1841 to 1910, pioneer of women's education, lived here, 1869 to 1885. Essentially, it said, "Fuck you." I lived in a borrowed room. This was North Oxford, Bradmore Road. The house now served as a repository for postdoctoral research assistants at the university. When I moved my boxes in, the only thing to be heard on TV and the radio and online was that Britain was still leaving the EU. The leaving had been going on for a while. It was being done by old Oxonians whose former quarters I now rented for a 9-month period. The news beating out from every device in the country came in the language of rooms. A house called Number 10, borders, backstop, more houses, this time of commons and of lords. It seemed to me that even the highest echelons of power existed by virtue of their quarters would be loath to give them up. I supposed it was not an entirely illogical proposition. Perhaps what the rampant racism, anti-immigration policy, and classism came down to was an arbitrarily powerful group of people wanting to preserve a world which could birth them into secure rooms, give them dorms in Eton and Oxford, chambers in Westminster, then a pension and country house to retire in. My brain did various contortions like these around this year, trying out excessive sympathy and rage like outfits in a changing room to see which could make the most sense of the country around me. Nevertheless, the internet kept me reliably informed in other ways. A search via Google told me that the Department of National Statistics cited loss of rented accommodation as a key factor in the 4% yearly rise in homelessness. I joined a Facebook group dedicated to calculating the increased severity of austerity through the rising cost of Freddos. Every now and then, the outline of a West London council flat diminished, then surged over a horizon of digital headlines, not forgotten until it was, and then remembered again. From what I understood, Brexit was to result in the erection of a stronger British state, but every article I found read the same. September 2018 may well have been June 2016. Nothing changed, and though I taught myself bits of political and legal jargon scribbled down from the news, the government's output remained oracular in my life, vague in meaning, difficult to apply. This seemed to be the case for most others. Pundits and parliamentary conversation moved in circles. Twitter offered vox pops. It became clever for news media to say they had no idea what was going on. I sympathised. Each time I scrimped and saved, swapped a £2.35 Americano for a 99p filter coffee, the grand irony of paying close to £10,000 to take up rooms in a place responsible for